Hi everyone, it's Becky here. So this afternoon I'm having a cup of coffee and three Oreos. I'm going to do a quick sketch in my art journal. So I draw directly with my waterproof ink pen instead of using a pencil because in this way the drawing process is much faster and spontaneous. So I started with the general outline of the Oreo on top and now I'm starting to add the details. So the details on an Oreo is actually a bit complex. So what I'm seeing here are little clusters of triangles joining together in a circle. So I just finished drawing the first Oreo and now I'm drawing the outline of the one underneath. And this one, after a few bites, drawing the layer of the two cookies and the rim, the print of the brand, and more clusters of little triangle shapes. And I'm not caring about accuracy way too much. I'm drawing very loosely. Okay, that little dimension of the thin cookie pieces and the rim texture. And a few more clusters of triangles. Super quick. Okay, so now I'm gonna draw my coffee cup behind. And it's much smaller than the Oreos because sometimes when we're sketching, we don't have to sketch in the right proportion of the things. This time, I want the Oreos to be more dominant compared to the cup of coffee. Write a bit of note, the time. Okay, so now it's time to paint with watercolors. So kind of wetted the areas first with clear water. Starting to add the lightest tone first, yellow ochre, and leaving that tiny streak of coffee there shining. If we look at Oreos very carefully, they're not black. They're actually a very, very dark tone of brown. And this is only the first layer. The first layer of paint is a mix of brown with a little bit blue. Second layer, I mix more ultramarine blue into the brown. So it's a darker tone of brown. It's more interesting to paint in layers with watercolors because it adds more interest and definition. I made the brown even darker by mixing in even more ultramarine blue. So this is the third layer of dark brown. It's very close to the color of the Oreos that we see. So the Oreo cookies are made of cocoa, and so it's a brown tone. When we look at it, just very simply, it looks like black. But if we look more deeply, it's more of a very dark tone of brown. Okay, so now I'm gonna paint the body and the handle of the cup with a mix of ultramarine blue and a little bit purple and green. Add a darker brown for the coffee around the rim. A little bit blending there and leaving that highlight there on the surface. And finally, I decided to paint a platform so the cup and the cookies look more united and stable on the page. Add a quick shadow for everything. Darker around the edges. Okay, so here is my finished sketch. Okay, so for dinner I made some stir-fry noodles. Okay, so it's pretty hot from the pan, and so I want to do a quick sketch before I start eating. The weather is really hot, so I don't really want to eat burning hot food. So as always, I start with the largest object first. I started with the outline of the bowl, leaving some spaces for the chopsticks there, and then now finishing the rim, drawing the body of the bowl and the rim using broken lines because the rim is not really a solid line. And now starting to add the details of the noodles and vegetables and everything, seeing them in abstract shapes, trying to find out the most interesting shapes and draw it out, and not really caring too much about matching every single space exactly the same as the real bowl of noodles. I see some interesting rings of noodles, some interesting strands twisting together in pretty cool shapes, loops, sketching very loosely, just letting my pen dance on the paper, follow what my eyes see, almost using a blind contour approach and drawing very quickly. Okay, I think I'm pretty much done drawing the inside of the bowl, using very gentle lines to add some hatching to suggest shade for the bowl inside outside. And the hatching also gives a sense of depth too. Quickly drawing a platform. Okay, ready to paint with watercolors again. I wetted the area first with clear water. The lightest tone that I see is lemon yellow, medium yellow for the eggs color, red orange for the tomatoes, green for the kales. As you can see, I use 2 or 3 different kind of greens to suggest the shade. Just do it really freely, wet on wet, and let the paint colors blend together themselves instead of over blending. The bowl is actually a very dark purple color, so I mix purple with ultramarine blue to get this color. The more blue I add, the more shade it has. So I mix in even more ultramarine blue so the purple looks even darker. This bowl is ceramic and I want to show a bit of shine for it. Paint the chopsticks with some yellow ochre. Pretty simple. Dashes of pink for the florals. Paint a really quick shadow, it's not really obvious. And darker around the bottom of the bowl. And just let the paint blend together. Okay, so here's the look of my art journal page so far. And then I'll finish the rest of the spread tomorrow.